with someone who saw us live by accident a few years ago, and he told me, "You're all nerds, right?" So you're the girl who sings in the nerd band, right? And I was like, "Oh well, maybe."
Sara and Arvid from CATHUBODUA. Thank you so much for your time, and especially at this moment in time, because when we're recording this, it is late in Belgium, and you're staying up to have a conversation with me, which I very much appreciate. We've got lots to talk about, but first and foremost, how are you guys doing? Because these are hectic weeks for you right now as you're releasing this new album. How are you doing?
Tired. It's actually past my bedtime, as you just said. Very happy but tired. We've just released the new album. We're playing a lot of shows. We're also 6 people in the band who also have full-time jobs. It is past my bedtime, but we're very happy because we're playing a lot of shows. The release is going very well. We've received tons of good feedback. We're seeing lots of people coming to our gigs. So we're very content. Yeah.
All good. Arvid, are you also a tired past your bedtime, or are you more of a night owl?
I'm more of a night owl anyway, and I guess we can sleep when we are dead, right? There's so much to do right now. I mean, we got our work, but then we released this very nice album. Now we got all these exciting shows, so no time to go to bed.
And so, as I said before we started recording, my apologies for my timing, because I obviously just spent a few months in Belgium. You guys are a Belgian band, and you're playing all these shows in Belgium right now, and I just left for Canada again. So I have not had a chance to see you guys on a stage, but I keep my fingers crossed that will be different. Now, to talk about different, the album is just out. It's not being released. Now you're going to do a lot of release shows. We'll come back to that. But the album is out as we're speaking. Does that mean that I have a very different Sara and Arvid in front of me versus if I were to speak to you the day before an album comes out? Like, how were your nerves the days leading up to the release?
I think Arvid is never nervous. I have never seen him nervous in the last 4 years that I have known him. I was really nervous before the release. I was actually excited as well because, especially for the first video clip, I was very nervous what people would think of our renewed CATHUBODUA, so to say. We've changed our style a little bit. We've gone more to the heavier metal side, more melodic death metal than we were power metal that we were before. And I was curious what people were going to think about it. And, less nervous now, but still nervous because of all the shows. And I do get horrible stage fright, but I will not admit that. It's over like 20 seconds before I get on stage.
Okay, before you get on stage, so you don't have to walk on. Okay. Interesting to know. I mean, what's the final thing you do to get fully in the zone for playing a show?
For me, it's trying to calm down Sara, which is basically my full-time job, I guess, before a show. No, I guess, I'm more relaxed and just looking forward to play the music, put on a good show. So, not to get complacent, we need to be focused because we want to play tightly and deliver a good performance. When it comes down to getting on stage, it's making sure everyone is calm, everything is planned, and we can give a show as good as possible.
You know, this release is a step up for the band. Should we look at this in 10 years from now, when we look back? Are you gonna say like this was like kind of a new start for the band? Like, just listening to the difference in production quality, for example, with the first EP that came out a number of years ago, this is quite a leap forward. So is this the band 2.0, as we would say?
I would say so. I would dare to say so, because the EP, the first album, were mostly written by our previous violin player. So that meant after the big lineup changes in 2020 that we had to find a new way of songwriting, a new way of organizing the band, a new way of incorporating our personal styles into the music, but still hold true to what CATHUBODUA is. It's just an epic, the rebirth.
Well, I mean, and what a beautiful way to tie in the concept of the band as well, with rebirth and epicness. Because for those people that have no clue what the band name actually stands for, this is a goddess of battle, the crow of battle, if I'm not mistaken, as the nickname, a Gaulish goddess, who in the band brought this love for antiquity. Clearly that is, a key part of the DNA of the band.
Well, actually, I was in a bar last week with someone who saw us live by accident a few years ago, and he told me, "You're all nerds, right?" So you're the girl who sings in the nerd band, right? And I was like, "Oh well, yeah, maybe." So when we started out, I think the love for the antiquity, and we have the power metal cheesiness, we have the Romans were in there, the fantasy elements were there, and I think at that point we had Katrin, the violin player, we had Peter at the bass, who loved the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire, and we just huddled that together and found this mixture goddess of very various sources, and also a very Googleable name if you can remember it.
There you go. Now, does that mean, because the new album, talks about this goddess and the rise and fall of gods in a broader way, should we look at that as pure escapism and talking about those stories of old, or any lyric that's ever written can be dissected into a million different ways, and you don't have to dig too deep for somebody like myself to put, there's another meaning there, and there's a commentary there, and this is something there's also more contemporary meaning to the lyrics, if you will. And are we looking for ghosts that aren't there? And is this just pure escapism, or is it true that there's more than one layer?
No, absolutely. There is more than one layer. I think this is by far the most emotional CATHUBODUA album that we've done, and also as far as lyrics that I've written in my life, these are the most emotional ones. And we've packaged this as how to make a war goddess, how to be something that you're meant to be but don't want to be, how to lose people you love, how to deal with guilt, how to be broken down into pieces and in the end be alone. But of course, these are very, for a god, these can be very big feelings, but these are also big feelings for a normal human. So I think we can all relate to the lyrics. I don't even know if my band members read them, actually. So I just play the music.
Well, we'll put Arvid to the test here right now. When are you aware that we're talking about the god complex that humans have and their struggle with failure, or were you just happy to focus on playing your violin parts?
I mean, the lyrics are an interesting part. We've been writing the music together. For me, it's all about intensity, right? On the one hand, there's the emotion in the lyrics. I think another thing that we wanted to do with this album, and I guess that's mainly Sara and myself, we like very intense stuff, right? And very full and complex stuff. So we've been challenging ourselves a lot, I think. We're trying to squeeze as much types of notes and harmonizations in single songs. So if you will look at our songs, there's so many layers in there when it comes to the symphonics, the counter melodies, how we harmonize things, how we did experiment with different types of metal, but also different types of classical from around the world. There's a lot of puns in there towards music writing, but also towards things that would complement the lyrics in terms of getting it more expressive and trying to say something that we wanted to get embedded into the music.
Now, and the music itself also stands out because of also your addition or your instrument plays a key role in the sound of the band. There are a million bands that use orchestration. I'll use that as a very broad term. And, hearing string instruments on metal albums is not necessarily new, but there's only a handful of bands that I can think of off the top of my head that have a violin as a key element in the music. And on this album also, when I was listening to it, especially on a song like, Will Unbroken, for example, to use a cheesy pun, you're playing first violin as well. Like it almost feels like it's the most focused instrument at times. Is that because, when everybody else wasn't looking, you went into the production room and just, put a little bit extra power there? Or like where did that, that must have been a conversation. It's like, hey, we know this is a unique piece of our sound. We want to also not shy away from that. We want to put it front and center. Or is that something that just comes completely organic?
No, I think so. It's actually a funny story. So 4 years ago, the previous violin player left. I think it's already 5 years now. And long story short, Sara called me. I was in the United States. It was middle of the night. I didn't know her. She said, this is going to look weird. I found your telephone number on the internet. Do you want to play the violin? Anyway, we had further conversations and we did look back at what they did as a band. And what we agreed upon is that we don't want to go the folky or the folk metal way, right? Where you have a typical violin playing some Irish jigs throughout the metal music. So also in this album, we've tried to make that statement and actually done, unconventional things on the violin and try to stay away from the folky as much as possible. I mean, it's sometimes there because it's an element of the band, but we also try to experiment and do some things on violin that are typically not done. And what has helped is that, most of the songs have been written by Sara and or Robin, who are not violin players at all, are not classically schooled. So this has led to some very interesting tunes, very challenging to learn and get to play them. But I'm actually happy with the results because there again, we are making a statement which we wanted to make with the whole production, I think, is where we wanted to stand out from the traditionals in our scene, right? Which lately have gone to calming down in terms of BPM, in terms of hardness. So we wanted to go harder, intense and special and challenging. So definitely for me as a violinist, it is challenging to play those things, let it be headbang together. I think definitely that was a conscious decision. Maybe not to put it at the spotlight, but at least to try to do something differently there as well.
I was just talking, I won't, give away who it was, but another band who guy burned his hair multiple times, and obviously as every metal guitar player gets stuck in his strings all the time, with the violin a little bit more closer to the source of your hair. Like, what's that like for you to actually headbang play as a metalhead on the violin? Like that must require some level of coordination that the average musician doesn't have.
Yeah, that's the tough part because the violin is attached to your neck. You have the bow moving independently. Exactly. But then if you headbang, everything moves together. So it adds a third or fourth dimension, whatever you want. And it is actually interesting. So last week, we have been working on printing a custom 3D model for the support on the neck. Because with the traditional support, whenever I headbang, my hair gets stuck. And every gig these days, I'm losing a bunch of hairs because it's just so tough. So it's very interesting, and you can't find anything like it because there's not much violin players that do actually headbang on concerts, right? It was never made for that. So it poses some unique challenges, but that makes it even more interesting to address them, right?
The bow on stage is just a health and safety hazard.
Yeah.
Like a guitar, you can see coming, the violin, and then you get a bow, like it flashes in front of your eyes.
So in other
Special eye
words,
insurance for Sara. Yeah.
yeah. So everybody go check out this tour that's coming, because it's going to be hilarious. It sounds like by the end of the show, half the band has to be, helped by the doctors on site. We were talking, all of us, that this is a step up for the band. This is a different level. Does that then also mean that we're closing the door to those previous releases for a while, and that when we go see you play in this new tour, that we should expect predominantly, if not only, the new material?
No, we still play the old stuff. We love the old stuff. And for the new tour, we've made a mixture of the songs we like best, the songs we know that the crowds love, the songs we can dance to, the songs that have the same energy, basically. And certainly the very old songs, and for the release shows, we're looking back to the very old songs and see how we changed them over the years. And I can imagine that we play them very differently now than we did 5 or 6 years ago. I should actually check a recording. I think it's interesting. We should record them.
It's different. I learned to play with those recordings. It's very different, trust me.
People like myself that are not in Belgium in the next few weeks, that will unfortunately, you're not only playing Belgium, you've got some shows, I think, in Netherlands and Germany as well.
Yeah, indeed.
So we've got this tour that's coming, that's going to keep you very, very busy for the coming weeks. But we're still only in March. 2024 is still a long time. So people that have no chance to see you guys play now, can we keep our fingers crossed and our eyes open for more announcements for the rest of the year? That you are allowed to talk about.
How about our non-disclosure agreements, Arvid?
No, but I think, there's some exciting conversations going on. The album is just out. As said, it's a way to redefine ourselves. So we're reaching out throughout the community, through our connections, make sure that it is visible to people what we did. We also hope that with these shows we will be gaining a lot of momentum in terms of upping our live reputation. For the two that we did last week, we already got very big compliments. We laid out some new connections. So we are very hopeful when it comes to, let's say, the second half of 2024, but also especially 2025, to maybe join as a support towards some of the really, really big bands, the big five, so to speak. I'm really hopeful as we gain momentum, as we set our reputation now with this new music, with this new band that has an absolutely incredible stage performance, which is what I hope, of course, we have. That from that we will see a lot of fruitful concerts in Belgium, but also abroad, and maybe one day the US or Canada, where you are. Let's see.
There we go.
Let's start with Western Europe.
There we go. That's okay. We'll find our way to come back to Europe and see you guys play. Now, a third release is always important. We had an EP, we had an album, now we have the new album. Because you're also building a brand for yourselves, and people will now also expect from this band that a next release is going to, again, forget about where you're taking the music, is going to deal in antiquity themes, goddesses, folklore and what have you. Maybe not from a music perspective on the folklore side, but definitely from the themes. Does that sometimes keep you up at night? Like, because people are just not going to accept that when you guys, your next song or your next single would be like a Smoke on the Water, or a song about whatever. Like, people now expect you guys to bring us big stories, gods and goddesses, battles, and what have you, which is great. There's a lot that you can talk about, but it also means that you can't necessarily do whatever you want at this point. Is that a concern at all?
At this point, I have a lot of stuff still going on in my head that I want to get out.
Yeah.
And maybe in 10 or 15 years, I'll look back and say, I want to write doom metal and take it slow or something. At this point, I still want to tell all the epic stories. So I think 5 years ago, we were thinking, what is CATHUBODUA? Corona crisis, pandemics. What do? We think, what are we? What do? We tell stories. And how do we tell them? Through music, and we tell big stories. And I think right now we've chosen a style that is very fantastic, very big and very over the top. And maybe in 10 years we'll choose a style that is less big and over the top and more quiet and more toned down. But I don't know, maybe we'll go bigger
Sarah,
and bolder.
I was about to say, I heard Arvid say a few minutes ago, like, some of the established bands are going slower and softer, and we're gonna go heavier and harder.
We're going to go heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
We'll just see where you guys end up. Like in 20 years, you're a grindcore band.
Yeah, it might happen. It might happen.
It might happen. It might happen.
Tell epic stories through grindcore.
There you go.
We'll do a 47 song CD, and it will take 22 minutes.
Sara and Arvid, it's great to see this release. It's a very, very good album that came out, and it's fun that so many people will have a chance to see you guys play these songs now, because we've got so many shows coming in the next few weeks. I'll keep my fingers crossed that more shows will be announced soon, whether they're in Belgium, in Western Europe, or maybe even in North America, and so that I get to see you guys on a stage this year. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best with this release tour.
Thank you so much, Jasper, for having us and for asking us all these very interesting questions that make us doubt our future and current.
Sorry, but I became a bit of a therapy session, but that's okay.
No, we're still fine. I'm still fine. Arvid's still fine. He looks fine.
There you go. There you go.
No, thank you for having us, and I'm very glad to have been here.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.